My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is Friday. It is April the 4th, 2025. We're here at Riviera Beach Preparatory Achievement and Academy, and I have several of my students with me. I've got Javante, Maya, and Amari. Okay, and sir, what is your name?
Reno Wells.
Okay, Mr. Wells. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Good.
How you doing?
Good, good, good. When is your birthday?
September 5th, 1953. You got a calculator?
No, I know that one by heart because it was just a couple months after mine. So anyway, I see we're both 72, but we're gonna be minus one of the sparrows in a minute. So anyway, all right. What city do you currently live in?
Riviera Beach.
Yes, sir. Okay. Can we address that? What branch of the service did you serve in?
I went in the Air Force at 17 and got out, went back into the Army. So Air Force and Army.
Okay. And what were you doing prior to going into the military service?
I was just a military brat stationed up in Hanscom Air Force Base with my dad.
Oh.
He was in the Air Force for 25 years, so basically. I went in from one military base into the military at 17.
And what base was that?
Hanscom Airfield,
Where's that?
Massachusetts.
I never heard of it. Okay.
Next to MIT and Lexington.
Gotcha. Nice, nice. So you got to travel a lot when you were a kid?
Yes.
Where did you go as a
As a brat?
yeah.
Eglin Air Force Base, Naha, Okinawa, and Bedford, Massachusetts.
Wow. Okay, nice, nice. And so why did you choose the Army?
You mean the Air Force coming out?
I mean, sorry about that,
Right.
yes. Why did you choose the Air Force?
Well, I figured my chance was better than going to Vietnam and staying home with my dad. He didn't play the radio. And so he was a hard charger. He was tough. So I figured I went in 2 weeks after graduation.
Got it, okay. And so you enlisted, you weren't drafted?
No, I listened to the Air Force, 17.
Okay, and again, sorry about that, but where were you living at that time you joined?
At Hanscom Air Force Base.
Right.
In Bedford, Massachusetts.
Got it, okay, all right. Why did you want to go into service? Why?
I grew up in it, so I had no fear. It became a part of me. I liked the discipline, I liked the structure. And my dreams at that time, I wanted to be a pilot because all I saw was jets and things on the base. And my dad wore the uniform good, so I thought it was a good structured life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so where was basic training?
Basic training was in Lackland Air Force Base, 6 weeks.
Okay, and before we go any further, I think you told me earlier you've been in the service for a total of 22 years?
Yes.
Okay, what was your rank when you finally separated?
Captain in the Army.
Got it. And what is that?
03.
03. Congratulations. Okay, so basic training was where?
Lackland Air Force
Lackland,
Base,
and how
San
long was
Antonio,
that?
Texas, 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yes.
And what about, how was basic training? How was the food? How were your training instructors? How were your peers?
Food was horrible. The peers, everybody went in. They were afraid. Most of those guys was older than me. I basically knew the system, so I felt good, that way. And to me, all the discipline, yelling and screaming, made me feel good because home was a lot worse. I call it a lot worse. It was a lot more disciplined home and regimented than I went in, so I was prepared for it.
So you were good to go?
Yes.
Good news. Okay, so basic training was it rigorous? Was it tough? What was it? What was it? And do you have any training instructors that you particularly remember?
Yes, one of my skinny training instructors. I forget his name. He just scared the life out of you. But basic training really was essential. Yeah, I played football in high school. I was all StatesAir, already athletic.
So you were prepared.
And on the military side, I knew that how to make a sheet with the quarter bouncing off, off the dust cover and things of that nature. So I was kind of prepared for it.
Like walk in the park. I got you.
Yes.
And so, what year did you go in?
71.
71. Were you in combat?
No, I was in the Vietnam theater operations in Masao, Japan.
Uh-huh.
I was a signal intelligence collector.
How long were you there?
I was there for a year and a half. And basically now that's what's known as cybersecurity. It comes up on the 25th Air Force. When I went, it was the United States Air Force Security Service, which is subordinate to the National Security Agency and the CIA and the other branches of doing the I spy crap, you know.
Okay, all right, all right. So, where did you go for your MOS?
I went to Goodfellow Air Force Base. And
Deerfield?
Goodfellow.
Goodfellow.
Goodfellow. That's in San Angelo, Texas.
Okay.
And there I learned computer programming, computer science, basic computing, analogs, and this was at the birth of computer technology.
Right.
So that's where I went to training.
Okay. And how long was that training?
About 4 months.
Oh, wow. So that was a good 16 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. So before you went to your first duty station, did you take a break and go home, or did you go straight to your first duty station?
No, I went home. The guys used to laugh at me, say I was the only guy who leave the Air Force Base to go vacation at another Air Force Base. So I went home to the folks for a few days.
Okay. So where was your first duty station?
First duty station, Masao, Japan.
Okay. And how long were you there?
I was in Masao, Japan a year and a half.
Uh-huh. And tell us about it. What was it like? How were the people on the economy? How was the food? How was the job?
Masao was great. The Japanese absolutely loved us. They loved Americans, especially African Americans. They loved us. The job was basically you went in and you went out because of it being the security clearance you need to have. You couldn't discuss the job once you left the compound. You couldn't tell anyone what you did. So the job was easy. Work shift work. And basically what we would do, we would pull up all the signal intelligence from the all of adversaries, Russia and China in the Eastern Bloc, you know, decipher the code, obviously electronic signals collectors, then we have the voice analysts, things of that nature. So it was pretty interesting. And I played football over there. I had a lot of organized sport that keeps you busy.
Okay.
Yeah. They have tailors, you know, to fix your clothes, tailor-made. Something might cost you here in the United States at that time, $150 cost you maybe $30 over there.
Wow. Okay.
And you get all the world's greatest stereo. So basically, I loved it. Knew how to speak the Japanese language because I learned the first part of it when I was in Okinawa with my parents.
Right.
For 3 years. And then you figure 4 years later now, I'm over there. So I had the language kind of down.
Just picked it back up, huh?
Yes.
Good, good, good. So you said you were there for how long?
Masao?
Yeah.
18 months.
Okay.
A year and a half.
And were there any, before we go any, were there any casualties while you were serving up to this point, like from basic training? Anybody get hurt? Any fatalities?
No, we had a couple of guys on the range who were hurting themselves with the firearms, hurting their fingers. But in Masao, what was difficult about that, now it's funny you should mention that, we had the guys in the Army and the Marines, and they was going over to Vietnam, some on a 6-month tour, 9-month tour. Some came back, some didn't. And you just took it for what it worth, you know. Except if they were real close, it would bother you. And yeah, so that was about the extent of that.
Got you. So where was your next duty base?
My next duty base was Kelly Air Force Base, but in the interim I went to Corey Field Naval Station. That's where I learned basic computer programming. I was there for 6 weeks.
Where was that? What state?
Corey Field Naval Station is in Pensacola.
Okay.
Right up there at the Panhandle. Yes. And I was there for 6 weeks, learned basic computer programming, and then I transferred to to Kelly Air Force Base.
What state?
San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, okay. All right. So that was your next tour?
Yes, that's.
How long were you there?
I was there for a year and a half.
Okay, and what did the job entail, and how did the tour go?
San Antonio, Texas. Basically do basic computer programming. Then I worked for the transfer to 6948th Total Communications Section, and we work with communications dealing with electronic warfare, electronic countermeasures and things of this nature, aircraft jamming of signals, and worked hand in hand with Pratt and Whitney. Here on the B line.
Yeah.
I did not know that they were there at the time. But,
Got it.
Yeah, sent a lot of communications there.
Huh.
And what we were doing.
So you spent time at Pratt Whitney?
No, I tried to get a job there.
Okay.
After I got out, I wasn't hired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what was the next duty station?
Okay, next duty station was Freedom. I ended my tour. I served my 4 years there at Kelly Air Force Base.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I got out, went to the University of Miami.
Gotcha. So, did you use your GI Bill for that?
Yes.
And what did you pursue as a major at the UM?
That time they called it industrial technology, basically like computer science, computer programming. And I was just here for a year. I walked on the football team. I made the team. I was a freshman, but I was hurting financially because wasn't for the GI Bill, I wouldn't be able to go to school. So they paid. If I had the grades, I would have went to Harvard. They would have paid for that.
Right.
So other than that, I had no income. So after that first year, I left and came back home, worked a couple of odd jobs, and went back in and worked with the FAA. I was air traffic controller for about 3.5 years.
So you went back into the Air Force?
No, worked for the Federal Aviation Administration.
Oh, okay.
Down in Miami, the Miami Air Traffic Control Center.
And how long were you with them?
About 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Prior to you getting out of the service at that juncture, were there any fatalities besides the ones that you already mentioned?
No.
Okay. And the other thing I need to ask you is, besides the places that you mentioned that you traveled during that period, were there any other places that you went either on vacation or TDY or whatever, before you separated that first time?
No, I did not.
Other places? No other places?
No.
Okay. All right. So in your civilian job, which was a government job, right?
Yes.
Did you travel at all for work?
Well, yes. I just went to training in Oklahoma City, air traffic school in Oklahoma City, and went to training there.
Air traffic control?
Yes.
Okay. So were you able to apply those skills eventually?
For air traffic?
Yeah.
Well, yes, because, I was working as a controller down at Miami Control Center. I worked in the en route section. Okay, the en route traffic, that's basically covers the traffic over areas between here and the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, up to Jacksonville. That was our handoff center. And basically the towers come above us. You see the control towers at Palm Beach International, that little hub where all the controllers sit.
Yeah.
Well, once that plane gets generally about maybe 15 to 20,000 where they can no longer be seen, they get transferred to us.
Oh.
Okay, we're the en route controllers. We separate them from maybe going to here to another airspace like Jacksonville or the Gulf of Mexico. Oops.
It's okay. You're okay. Got it. That's very interesting. So the ground, I guess I didn't realize that. So one crew gets the aircraft to 15 to 20,000 feet.
Yes.
And then the next crew, as it ascends, there's a
hands off.
Right. Okay. So after 15, 20,000 feet, it's hand off to another hand. What you said.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. And so so you said you were with that outfit for 3.5 years?
Yes. I worked in air traffic for 3.5 years, and then I happened to go to this nightclub, Big Daddy's, Flanagan's, and I bumped into this guy. He's a cop.
Where?
In Miami.
Got it.
And so it's about 4 in the morning, and he asked me, "Hey, you want to be a cop?" I said, "I'm making good money. I work as an air traffic controller, so I'm good. No problem." So I go back in there about 3 months ago, but the scene changes now. I see him. He's at a table, and there's about 4 or 5 chicks at the table. I said, "Hey man, you got one of them cars?" So I left air traffic because the money was just as good, and I became a police officer in the city of Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We love Miami, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So how long were you a police officer?
I was there in Miami for a couple of years. Went back to FAA, left and came back. Anyway, I wound up here as a cop. I came up to River Beach. I did a total of 23 years at River Beach Police Department.
Okay, but simultaneously you also, what year? Okay, so you separated from the Air Force in around 75?
Right. Yes.
And then you did the civilian government jobs for how long?
I was supposed to say 4 years. And when I came here, '84,
Okay,
that's when I entered and went to the reserves in the Army.
right. And so where were you, where did you report to here?
I was in a place called, is that off of Tuxedo in Hollywood? I was in the infantry training unit.
You were where?
Now I was in an infantry unit, the 1st Battalion, 124th Infantry Regiment
Uh-huh.
in Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, in Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the closest Army facility that you could,
Well, yes, in the National Guard in the infantry.
got it.
And so I remained in the infantry 2 years, and then transferred over to the Army Reserve, and I got close to home at Gun Club, the 3220th.
Okay, so in Hollywood, what was your job?
I was a butter bar lieutenant, second lieutenant, and weapons platoon, infantry rifle platoon leader.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have about 4 squads up under me. I have, my weapons gunnery and my,
What was your rank there?
I was the second lieutenant.
Oh, you're second lieutenant there. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Any casualties during that tour?
No.
And how long were you there? In Hollywood?
Hollywood there for about 2 years. We
Okay.
weren't deployed, but maintained all the readiness on the United States, Army manual.
Okay. So then you said next you went where? To reserve?
Yes, right here, Gun Club. It's close to
And
home.
okay. And how long were you there?
I was there at Gun Club for about 3 years, 4 years.
All right. And what was your job there?
My job there, I was a training officer. I was assistant training officer.
Still second lieutenant
I
or
got promoted to first lieutenant.
first lieutenant? Got it.
Yeah, and while I was first lieutenant, then I had to go to Fort Benning, Georgia, to infantry officer training.
Uh-huh.
Okay, as a first lieutenant. So I
Right.
was there for 4 months, and I came back here to Gun Club and stayed there for a year. And this thing called the individual rated reserves, inactive rated reserves.
Right.
So I got out of active for a couple of years, and I came back in, and I was assigned in the 6948th Civil Affairs Unit Battalion in Perrine, Florida. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Near Homestead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was what you call a Civil Operations Special Operation Officer. We came up under the Special Forces Command out of North Carolina.
Okay, so what about Special Forces now?
We fall up under the Special Forces Army Command. Yeah,
So you're under their umbrella.
Yeah, under the umbrella.
And how long did that last?
About 3 years, and I called it quits in 2001.
Okay. Any casualties?
No,
Anybody get hurt?
casualties. No. We went downrange to Guatemala to help with the devastation after Hurricane Mitch.
Oh, what year was that?
That was in '98.
Okay.
In '98.
All right, and so there were casualties there, weren't there? People that
Yes.
succumbed?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
People living in the host nation, the Guatemalans, yeah, they were devastated. The homes collapsed on them, so we had some of those. So we had to go try to, locate dislocated citizens, reinstore the infrastructure, provide medical treatment, medical evaluation to those who were trapped. So that's what we did for the 2 or 3 weeks we were down in Guatemala.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess, what rank were you at that time?
Captain.
Oh, you made captain.
Yeah, I was captain.
Okay, so I guess you were strictly in a supervisory capacity serving?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many people were you supervising?
There's 12 soldiers in my detachment. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so by the way, was that your last?
Yes, that was my last assignment.
Okay, so the entire time that you were in the military and also working those government jobs, they weren't contracts, they were just regular jobs, right?
Yes, government job, regular
Got
government jobs.
Okay, did you ever have any problems staying in touch with your family?
I laugh now. Yeah, it wasn't like you guys now. You just pick up and text and
Right.
Snapchat. We didn't have all that.
So,
You wrote letters, and we had this jacked up communication system in Osaka, Japan.
Uh-huh.
You could talk on the phone, but after every sentence you had to say it over. And the people speaking to you, they'd say what they want to say. They would say over, go back and forth.
right,
So that's how it was over in Japan. Other than that, we wrote letters.
okay. Have you, I don't care whether it's R&R or tour of duty, any places that you haven't mentioned to this point, throughout all 3 or 4 careers,
3 or 4.
that you haven't mentioned that you visited or went R&R or whatever? You been to Europe?
No, and what's funny about that, when I went into the Air Force, because I grew up in the Pacific with my folks,
Right.
up my dream sheet, I put in to go to Germany, but they sent me back to Japan.
It never happened, huh?
Never was able to go to Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any other places that you visited that you haven't mentioned? Vacation?
Well, as far as the military goes?
No, both.
Yeah, I guess, I was fortunate as a kid, a unique life. Just for the ones in the room, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not making advantage of your time, this is saying my dad used to tell me, handle your business will handle you. So growing up as a kid, I was fascinated by planes. That's why the air traffic control thing was an easy transition.
Right.
Yeah, I knew more airplanes and civilian military airplanes than most guys knew who worked in the industry, okay?
Right.
And then when I get out, as a police officer, I got on the pension board. I'm still on the pension board right now.
Oh, really?
And through the pension board, we go to Hawaii in November, this coming November.
Uh-huh.
I've been to Hawaii before on the pension board, let alone, worked there, worked for the Department of Defense when I left Riviera Beach.
Right.
So, so on the police department, being on the pension board, I've traveled to New York, Las Vegas twice, San Antonio twice, California 3 times, Boston, and let's see where else. And quite national, not to be redundant, Hawaii twice, and we're going back there again.
Got you.
On the pension board.
I'm going to ask my students, anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Mr. Wells? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Medals and citations.
Huh?
Medals, awards, citations.
I got to get a conduct medal in the Air Force when I was stationed overseas. Also the outstanding unit when I was stationed in Masao, Japan. And I got a marksmanship in the Army. I got the marksmanship award in the Army.
Okay. Okay. There was another question that I needed to ask you. So you were never in combat.
No.
Okay,
I
good.
was never in combat.
And you were never a prisoner of war.
No, fortunately. Now the unit I was in, there were times we could have been assigned, and thank God they didn't call my number.
Mm-hmm.
And what was funny, I applied to go to helicopter school when I first got to Japan,
Right.
and my buddy was with me. And so it was something about going to Southeast Asia. So I'm a young kid, I'm 18. And so I asked Maxie, that's my partner, I said, Maxie, what's Southeast Asia? He said, fool, that's Vietnam. So I kind of politely gave them their paper back and told them I would think about helicopter school. Because after you complete training in Fort Worth, Alabama, they send you right back to Nam.
Right.
Yeah, so.
So you were able to miss the boat on that.
Yeah, I missed the boat. So
Good.
other than that, getting in one of the units where we have to fly over the trees, intercepting the signals, I was never called to do that. So no, I did not go to Nam. My dad did 2 tours over there. My
Really?
brother did a tour over there in the Navy.
You feel like you had all the supplies that you need throughout your military service to do your job?
Oh yeah, they gave us everything.
Everything you needed?
Yeah, you're more advanced. Just like these kids right now, they're getting the latest and greatest toy, technology, the phone. Well, sad news for you. The Army have had that 10 years before you get it in your hand.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how technology works.
Tell me 2 of your most memorable experiences while you were in the service.
I'll say it was South Japan. Growing up there, coming back because I knew the language. I played ball. They treated us like a king. We was able to have maids to come, clean our rooms. I was able to save money. So I enjoyed that. That was a real memorable moment. And I forgot what astronauts it was that touched down. We were able to go out and see the ships. And at the time,
Really?
yeah, with the space exploration and things.
In the Pacific?
In the Pacific.
Okay, on the
And the ship brought the capsule, yeah.
on the Asian side.
Right.
Wow. Okay, how often did that happen?
Really.
Okay, so how many times? You only experienced that once,
just
twice?
once. And then, now when I was a kid, as a dependent, the actual military personnel could take like flights. Armed Forces Day, this is once a year. They come put on big productions, the jets and the planes and all this, and they would give you a little helicopter ride, tour around. But through the years, that waned off now because, you know, liability and probably cost factors and things like that.
Right.
So I used to love experiencing that. Armed Forces Day is
Okay,
Armed Forces Day events.
Good, good, good. I just have a couple more questions for you. Okay, let's see. Oh, so you use your GI, but what is the highest, your professional education? What did you achieve? Your bachelor's or your master's or?
I got a master's degree
In?
in public administration and a bachelor's in organizational management. And then I was going for my doctorates. That lasted for about maybe a quarter because that busted me upside the head.
That's a lot of work, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, you don't get no sleep.
I hear you. Okay, did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah, I would say pretty much I was mentally prepared for it. Growing up then, we didn't have any distractors like the young kids have now. And it's not a bad distractors. I mean, we didn't have all those avenues to have access to information like they can. So the only thing that was up close and personal in our face was the Vietnam War. By me living in the military, that was the only life I knew. You know, I knew nothing else. So I was pretty much, if you want to say, propagandized, you know.
Well, you just, I guess, what is the correct way to say that? Your childhood was regimented.
Yes, yeah.
So you were just, you know, and you were just into that lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you knew, which was not a bad thing. Last question, how did your service and experiences affect your life?
Oh man, I can't, hey, I tell the guys, you know, don't listen to your friends, check it out for yourself because I couldn't have done better. I have 2 homes now where actually the ex-wife got the first one. But I brought through the GI Bill, and then when I left, I bought my house over here, next door where I live, right across the street over here. Through the GI Bill, I took flying lessons through the GI Bill. When I was working the FAA, I should have continued. I stopped. At that time, it was only $10 an hour.
Wow.
Right now, the same thing I was paying $10, you're going to pay probably about $250 an hour now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it gave me a lot of opportunities. I have the VA for as my health benefits goes, you know, to utilize that, the Veterans Hospital. So, like I say, you know, I benefited by it. You know,
Got it.
It benefited a lot. You know, I was able to obtain my college degrees through the military, so it benefited me well. You know.
Good. Okay, well, I want to thank you for your service, and I also want to thank you for a great interview.
Hey, thank you very much.
Absolutely.